Welcome to The Good Pod, where today we're talking Elsbeth, Season 3, Episode 5, Poetic Justice. I'm one of your hosts, Tracy Reed. With me, as always, Logan, the Marissa Gara. Marissa, you good?
I'm good. You good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Marissa.
You doing okay here in Season 3?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. I do have a poem for you.
A poem? You wrote me a poem? Okay,
Yeah.
wait. Just let me savor the moment before me include anything that makes, is not nice. Okay, ready? 1. Oh, that was so nice, Jason.
Yeah.
2. That was really great. Fantastic. 4. I can't believe you did that for me. Okay, you may now read it.
Roses are red. Violets are blue. Pens love Marissa.
Ooh.
Marissa loves pens too.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think we would totally be picked up by Pigeon Press. That was amazing.
Yeah, for sure. As long as we are promised to make some sort of financial endowment. Listen, that was off top of the dome. So
yeah,
no one hate. Okay. Here we are, working our way through Elsbeth Season 3, just trudging along, and finally got our long promised guest starring role. We'll talk about that when the time is right. But before we get deep into the episode, we want to remind you of some free and easy ways that you out there can support this podcast if you choose to do so. You can do that by reviewing, rating, and subscribing wherever it is you are watching or listening to this podcast. You can also, if you have any questions you want to ask us about, any comments you want to leave, you can also email us at thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com. If you want to not do free and easy, but,
the arts are under attack.
That's right. The arts are under attack. We, as content creators, as we create art every week for you guys out there, we're creating art 2 times a week right now for you guys. So if you want to support the small arts, the fine arts, as what I call this podcast, fine arts, you can always donate monetarily to us at The Good Pod at buymeacoffee.com/goodpod. Those monies go directly into the pockets of the artists, and a little bit to buy me a coffee too. They get a tiny bit, but we get most of it. Okay, at buymeacoffee.com/goodpod. Check us out there. Donate if you can. We would love you for it. Marissa, with that all out of the way, let's dive into the episode.
All right, let's do a quick little summary, and then we'll talk about who was in this episode. We had a lot of stars-ish people in this mix. You had some familiar faces, but without further ado, in this episode we meet Gary Pidgeon, the very stressed out founder of Pigeon Press, who is watching his publishing house crumble as the arts are under attack. I really think they got that home. I really think they drove that one home to us. Well done, A+. He's been counting on longtime patron Dolores Fine to keep their lights on, but Dolores isn't having it. She reminds Gary that she's never been published by her beloved. He's never published her beloved epic poem, so she's cutting him off financially. Kind of like she's just not giving to him. Gary panics, and when he finds out that Dolores might be cozying up with another publishing house, he decides to take matters into his own hands. Dolores has always carried an oxygen tank, and Gary knows that she's a smoker, so she sabotages her setup and lets the oxygen flow, and then conveniently calls her while she's home just as she lights a cigarette, and boom goes the oxygen tank, not really the dynamite. While that's all happening, Elsbeth is at a benefit with Dr. Yablonsky, who you might remember from Season 1 and Season 2 of Elsbeth, where she runs into an old friend, the long-awaited, the girl who spells her name correctly, Marissa Gold. Marissa's been working with a mayoral candidate named Alec Bloom, and she's leaning on some of her dad Eli's classic political moves. She even started playing matchmaker, kind of, sort of, but also with the motive of what Marissa needs for the campaign between Alec and Elsbeth, which, let's just say, Elsbeth has some complicated feelings about. Meanwhile, Elsbeth learns about Dolores' death and convinces Captain Wagner to let her investigate. Captain Wagner seems to have an investigation of his own going on because he is distracted by his daughter's very public relationship with Detective Rivers. So Rivers gets assigned to that case to kind of pull him away from his daughter. Together, they uncover that Pigeon Press has suddenly gotten a suspicious financial glow up, new furniture, raises, the whole thing. And later we learned Dolores only left her poetry and a measly $416. Eventually, Rivers figures out that clothes can be discolored by oxygen exposure, and with that and some help from a doorman and a dry cleaner, they get a full confession from Gary. Before the credits roll, Marissa pulls Elsbeth aside and says, "I need your help. The entire state of New York New York City is in your hands." So we had a little bit of murder, a little bit of politics, a little bit of matchmaking, a little bit of nostalgia, and Elsbeth was right in the middle of it.
Yeah. So, we talked a little bit last week about, wow, this murder. It's taken a long time. And I think that's maybe the status quo from now on, is that the murder up front takes about 5 to 8-ish minutes of screen time in the beginning, which, I think is okay. I think maybe what we lost in the Kaya Elsbeth storyline relationship is getting filled in by the murder up front, I think, because we're spending less time with Elsbeth's personal life and palling up with Kaya. So now I think that's gone to the murder, which depending on the episode, I think your mileage will vary on whether or not you appreciate it or not.
Yeah, I think what was interesting, or what I'm finding interesting about this new setup, is we are learning a lot more about the murderer and the murdered before the crime happens. And that used to be where Elsbeth really shined. So to your point, in terms of, you've been talking about like how she would always find circumstantial evidence because she was trying to figure out like the motive most of the time, right? Like, why did this happen? How did this happen? That type of thing. We now know how and why. We used to know a little bit of the why and all of the how. And so now Elsbeth is really held to task here. She had to solve this case with something that would stand up in court, with something that would be definite. And she kind of coerced this confession to happen by using her friends, the doorman and the dry cleaner. And Rivers, who has had a change of heart and change of attitude and a change of direction. All good reasons.
Rivers has had a personality glow up, that's for sure. Forced or not, it's happened. But yeah, we had I'm sorry, Sean William Harper is his name?
Yes. Gary,
he's here.
Gary Pidgeon.
Gary. So if you remember him from The Good Place, I think Good Place was such a moment like for sitcom television. If you don't remember, it was basically about people that were in the afterlife, and it was supposedly the good place, aka heaven, and things transpired from there in that show that took a lot of interesting directions. But
yeah, it was like philosophy, like a master's course in philosophy, because they took like every afterlife structure from every like religion and everything and kind of explored it. But there was always frozen yogurt, and that's what really made me happy.
Yes, William Jackson Harper. I got the name wrong. Sorry, William Jackson Harper. He's Gary here. I thought he did a good job with what he was given to do. I think he has that classic kind of neurotic, like sensibility about him in a way, and also that when he played Chidi in The Good Place, it was like he was very funny when he was very like annoyed and aggravated, and he really got kind of like showed that here as well in every instance when he was being led on to, especially at the end where he kind of like Elsbeth kind of makes him like blow his top about Dolores and how he really felt about her poetry, and he goes on this like rant about how terrible she was and how he had to do what he had to do for his art. It's those moments where he really comes into play here in the best way.
Well, and I think as from my perspective as someone who's worked in nonprofits, A+, way to go. It's such an uncomfortable feeling to be in because you're doing this thing for the good of humanity, right? Like but at the same time, we live in a capitalistic society. So I've had to have conversations and even design marketing campaigns about leaving money to an organization when you die. It's not an easy conversation to have, and it's really kind of awkward, but it is the way that world works. And it's just like, I cannot believe, like, the whole time I was trying to put myself in Gary's shoes of like, oh yeah, this sucks. Because also we forgot to mention that Dolores is a crap poet. She thinks she's so great. She thinks she's amazing. But Jason's poem at the start of this podcast was way better than anything we heard her recite, anything like that. So Gary's in this position of like seeing this woman who is giving on the like perception that she has a lot of money. She's got lots of jewelry. She lives in a high-rise apartment, like old New York high-rise apartment. And she, goes to all these restaurants and lives this fancy life and all of this stuff, and has been having the conversation of like, I will leave you this stuff in my will. So he's thinking, this lady's loaded. Let me continue having the conversation. Times are tough. If you haven't heard, arts are under attack. Tries to get more money out of her. It's just like, no, but you gotta put up my poem. And he's like, but it sucks so much. Like he can't bring himself to do it from the art standpoint.
Yeah, and I mean, Marissa, have you ever had to like, put up with ordinary people or less than polite people to like for the betterment or for the good of a museum or whatever you're doing?
Yes, because most times, especially for nonprofit workers who work specifically in fundraising, that is tied to, sometimes it's just like sales. Like sometimes it's tied to a commission, or sometimes that's tied to like a company goal. And you have to go through these uncomfortable conversations because you have to get the money at the end of the day. And it's just, I'll tell you how bad it was while we were brainstorming for one campaign when I worked for a local Girl Scout council. The best I could come up with was earn your last badge.
Your last badge.
Yeah, earn, like an urn, like earn.
Like URN?
Yeah. Yes, your last badge. Because like instead of earn, like this is not as good of a joke as I thought it was if I was explaining it this much to you, Jason. But like earn, because like in Girl Scouts you earn badges.
Yeah.
But if you are not alive anymore,
you go to Eagle Scout here. I know about earning.
Okay. So yeah. But then you earn your badge.
Wait, what's the?
I was trying to make a pun on earn to call like the whole campaign, the Earn Your Last Badge campaign, to say, hey, when you die, leave us your money.
Oh,
and that's dark. How you can earn. Yeah, that's where your brain goes. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, that's like where your brain goes when you have to like think of these things. Also, way to go, us, a gold award Girl Scout and an Eagle Scout on the pod.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Leaders. We're leaders.
Yes.
May earn your last badge.
But like that's where your brain goes when you're in these spots. And it's just like,
that's morbid, bro. That's morbid.
How are you supposed to? I mean, there's only so many ways. Philanthropy has been around for so long. Like, there's only so many ways you can say things. Man. I will just tell you, the team voted no on that.
Yeah.
But like that's just how you sometimes, and that's also how I would just get through some of these conversations. It's just like,
he's like, I don't know, earn your last badge.
Like I don't know.
You are in whatever. Yeah. Oh wow, that's great. I love that. Now I'm gonna be thinking all week about better pitches than earn your last badge. Oh my God.
Let me know if you
I'll let you know. Yeah, so I mean, not only is Dolores a crap poet, but she's kind of like a crap person as well.
Oh yeah, because we find out in this whole thing, she has this oxygen tank, which everyone thinks is legit and valid, but we find out because first of all, Dr. Oblonsky apparently knows her and was like, yo, she never uses her oxygen tank. And then later they find out that she never refilled a prescription for oxygen. So this lady has been lugging this thing around to get good tables at restaurants and then have other people pay for them.
Yeah, it's just overall kind of like crappy toward Gary. Like,
yes, she's not a happy person. She just it was bad.
And there's a moment where Dolores goes, I'll get this poem published if it's the last thing I do. I was like, oh, okay, so Dolores is the victim here, because when she says that, she's gonna be the one to die. Yeah.
Do you think it was gonna be the other way around?
No. I obviously I was like, oh, well, obviously this is probably going to be Dolores's day to go. But then when she goes, oh, get this poem published, the last thing I do, I was like, okay, heavy-handed way of telling us she's about to be the victim here.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the murder. The way the murder took place. my brain.
The method, the murder method.
Method. There you go. Perfect. So Gary goes and let's also talk about, he finds out that Dolores might, because Gary will not publish her poem, Dolores might be going to a different poetry magazine, paper.
Yes. To bequeath her, wealth.
Yes.
I'll just say that, her wealth. We don't know. At this point, we are also assuming it is tons of money.
To bequeath all the money she has after she dies.
Correct. Which is a true statement.
True statement. Can't deny that. Listen, we don't know. Did she ever say to anyone how much money she do we know she lied? We don't know if she lied. She could have just been, I will leave you all the rest of my money.
Which I have to say, from a nonprofit management standpoint, they should have known, because there's a whole process that you have to go through when you fill all this stuff out. It's not just you promise you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing. But I mean, there's only so much you can do in an episode of television. I'm not gonna hold them to too much account. But yes, they didn't know, or their staff didn't tell them.
And so because Gary is hemming and hawing about putting Dolores's poem in his the pages of his magazine, she is threatening to go to the competition, the tumbleweed, led by dear old Fred here. And so Gary is feeling the pressure. Gary runs into Fred. Fred's on his way up to make his case to Dolores, getting look like a little charcuterie board or a gift basket that probably cost more than what Dolores ended up having to bequeath after she died.
Yes, 100%.
So Fred's making his pitch, and Gary's like, oh, I better let me go check in with the accountant. The accountant could have saved Dolores's life right here.
No, but she couldn't. Well, first of all, she would have to have been a lawyer, because an accountant doesn't read a will at the time, which I thought was funny.
Maybe she was a state lawyer.
Yes, sure. Yeah, something like that. But that's client privilege,
I guess. I'd be like, I mean, but Gary, trust me.
No, I mean, either way, she gave the right advice, because when Gary asked her, she said, if I were you, I'd be looking for different funding, which he's reading oh my God, I'm going to lose all this money. But she's literally telling him there is nothing here.
And also, this
is going to save you. It's not going to save you.
Well, I also would throw in don't be pressed, bro. Even if she leaves and goes somewhere else, don't be pressed. It's okay. Trust me. Big wink. Trust me. You'll be okay without this money from Dolores. You'll be all right. She could have saved Dolores' life right there, but so he kind of infers from what the estate lawyer tells him that yes, this is a true thing that might be happening, that Dolores might be going to the tumbleweed other than him. So he's like, how can I make sure that I get that money? How can I make sure that this transfer doesn't go through?
Trigger of this workflow is someone has to die.
The only way we can get it is if Dolores dies today, which is always, I always find it funny where these people have such leaps to murder, of their motives to murder, of you know how to fix this? Death. I'll kill someone. I'll murder someone. So yeah, Gary, who you mentioned, Dolores has this huge oxygen tank she lugs around. And also we found out that Dolores likes to smoke when she is composing her poems.
Yes. The muse only comes to her when she's smoking, Jason. She's a serious artist. She cannot go without it.
Yeah.
No art is created without the Marlboro Man.
The Mama Man?
The Marlboro Man.
Marlboro Man.
Yes.
Lung cancer inspires
Dolores. Camel.
Or the camel. I miss the camel. That camel was a part of my childhood. Let me tell you, I used to look at pictures of that camel, be like, "Oh, that's a cool camel."
He was Cool Joe. I mean, we had a whole thing.
Which probably
Joe Cool. Either one. One was Snoopy. One was the camel. I don't remember.
Which probably should also tell you why they decided to do away with the camel, because it was too cool for kids. I want to be like the camel and smoke a cigarette. So let's get rid of the camel.
The marketing worked, because we remember the camel, and also, at least I do, California raisins. These are things that I remember.
The California raisins. I had a California raisins action figure. I don't know where I got it from, but I had it. I think my mom probably bought it for me at some point. I don't know why. But it was a part of my childhood. I remember the commercials, all that stuff. Man, childhood unlocked, let me tell you.
And also, advertising works.
Yeah,
Just
for
FYI.
sure. For sure. It sticks with you.
But not earn your last badge. That one was a good one.
No, that one was not. That was not great. It was not great, Marissa. But yeah, so Gary knows she likes to smoke when she writes. And Gary, you gotta hand it to Gary because Gary decided to get himself an alibi. Not a lot of our murderers do that. Not a lot of murderers are like a solid alibi.
But
a
it
lot
was
of
like
murderers
also double, right? Like it was a double alibi because he showed up at the Tumbleweeds benefit at the time and then also called her at the time. So there was he was doubling up, which is like even beyond what we usually see people see.
But the call did trip him up, though. The call, like I think he would have done better if he had tried to incept in Dolores's mind like a time for her to do her thing. Yeah. To like, hey, you know, I hear the best time for writing poetry is 8 p.m. on a Friday night when same time this benefit's happening. I'm gonna be at.
I will publish anything you get to me by 7 p.m. tonight.
Oh yeah,
You know, like something like that because he calls and she's alive and he's like damn it.
Yeah. Well because before he goes to the benefit he visits Dolores and he takes one of the valves off the oxygen tank so the oxygen from the tank will fill the room so that when Dolores the next time she does spark up to light her cigarette it will go boom, things will explode because oxygen and fire not great. Unless you're trying to start a fire, then great. If you're on Survivor, works.
Yeah, but good luck getting your oxygen tank. Well, maybe.
Listen,
that would probably not fly, but also it should fly for accessibility purposes.
We've had all types of Survivor. Maybe one day we'll get some of the oxygen tank. They're trying to run the challenge.
They should do it. Yes, but there should be an adapted version for people. Everyone deserves to play Survivor.
Yeah, and the challenge will be who can crochet an oven mitt holder the fastest.
Okay,
that'll be the
Jason,
next community challenge.
If I was running a senior center, that would 100% be what I'd be doing.
Who can get their hearing aid batteries out the fastest?
Yeah. But also, like, let's crochet a puzzle. Let's put the puzzle together.
For sure. Who can get to the bathroom with their walker the fastest? Yes. But yeah, so Gary made sure to undo the valve for the oxygen. He had no chill. He was just like unscrew, boom. Oxygen's like spreading. And he's like, all right, I'm out. Cool.
And while he did that, I was like, fingerprints, and then I was like, oh, it's gonna blow.
Yeah, it's gonna be blown up. Nothing fingerprint. So he makes sure that the oxygen's flowing in the apartment. He leaves. He gets to the benefit. He calls Dolores, who I think he was already hoping that she had gone boom at this point because he was mad when she answered. He's like, damn it, like, why aren't you, like, I thought you were supposed to be writing your poem and also sparking up a cigarette while you do it. And she's like, what did he say to her? He's like, I hear that, you know, nighttime is like the biggest use for writing or something.
Yeah.
He said something to inspire her to go and start writing in her quote unquote nook. And when she goes right in her nook, as she said, she likes to light up a cigarette. And she does that. And all we see is
boom. And then, because this is how desperate he is, being a nonprofit manager, Gary Pidgeon, he's like, I can't wait for somebody to find the body. I can't do that. I got to call 911 and let them do a wellness check and find her because we got to expedite this process. I need that money.
Yeah. And not because, I mean, listen, Gary, her apartment just exploded. I think someone's going to call 911. Probably the person above, below, or beside her is going to. I hope he didn't act, you know, because how big an explosion was this?
I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Because listen, I think someone's got it, Gary. And Gary, this is definitely part of what gets Gary caught because Gary calls 911. He then tells them that he tried to call Dolores back and it didn't go through. I was like, why the unnecessary lie? You didn't need to add that lie in there. You could have just said,
I tried to call.
Yeah, like these murderers, they try and do too much. That's the problem. You didn't need to call 911 in the first place. And then you didn't also need to lie to the 911 operators while you're calling them. You could have just been like, I was talking to my elderly friend and the line went dead. So I want to make sure she's okay. Not like that you called her back. Like, come on, bro. That was his first big mess up.
And that was like That was a lot of TV. Like that could have been an entire episode that we just talked about. Like that was a lot. But we haven't even gotten to the Elsbeth yet.
Yeah, so we then get to the Elsbeth part, and we've had some interesting ways that Elsbeth has jumped into a case this season, and this was also pretty interesting because this is a case that Elsbeth kind of inserted herself into.
Okay, but this is like the only time that I've been watching this that the consent decree actually makes sense, because she, first of all, because one, I know what a consent decree actually is now, but two, she like hears about this because she's at a benefit, like I mentioned, with Dr. Yablonsky, but also Gary Pidgeon is there. It's like all the benefity people, and also Marissa and Alec, which we'll talk about. But she finds out that Dolores has been murdered, and she takes this under the I think we judged this too soon. Let me investigate this even more. So this is like the only time she actually uses her consent decree, as opposed to already being on the case or anything like this. She's able to come in and kind of correct a mistake of the police department before it gets caught, before it goes too far.
Which just kind of again, okay, so I guess the consent decree is like still in play here. She is still the consent decree lawyer, because
the world's longest consent decree.
Yeah, because we were thinking at a certain point that like the consent decree was over and Wagner had to like pay out of his own department's budget to get Elsbeth as a consultant, but I guess it's still going.
I guess.
Okay, sure. Or is it just something they use like, when they feel like it, when the story fits? Because like, she hears about this and she hears from Yablonsky that, I mean, listen, she don't even use her oxygen. Like it's just a tool for her to get into restaurants in a good table. So Elsa's like, huh. Elsa gets that light bulb over her head, and I guess she has nothing else to do right now. She's like, I don't have an active case going. Let me insert myself into this case. And so Elsbeth, being Elsbeth, decides she's figured out something suspicious. And so let's investigate.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what else goes on at this. Do you want to talk about the rest of the benefit? Like what happens at the benefit?
Sure.
With Marissa and Alec?
Yeah. You want to, go for it.
I mean, since we're at the benefit, we might as well talk about the benefit.
Yeah.
So yeah, she runs into Marissa just like nonchalantly. And we were talking about this before the pod. What did you think of this Marissa, this version of Marissa? Not me, by the way. Not that I would make this about me in any way, shape, or form, but she does spell her name correctly with 2 S's and 1 R. Thank you so much.
We've always loved Marissa Gold for that.
Yes.
So yeah, we meet Marissa. We meet up with Marissa again, and it's this heartwarming thing. She comes up, she's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And yeah, spunky Marissa, kind of, but I think we're used to a more witty, acerbic Marissa, and this was like less that. And we were talking last episode about like what is she going to be doing? What is her role going to be? And I mentioned to you that she's working for a mayoral candidate. And last I was like, oh, that's weird, because she was supposed to be a lawyer when we last saw Marissa in The Good Fight. And so Elsbeth says that. She's like, oh, like I thought you were supposed to be a lawyer.
Thank you.
And Marissa goes, I mean, yeah, but what did she say? Like
when there was the law.
Which I thought you would appreciate, Marissa, because you're so like you are you.
Yes.
So now she's kind of decided to follow in her father's footsteps. I
got feelings. Yeah, because without spoiling too much of The Good Fight, Marissa was a defense attorney at the end of all of this. Like she was participating in the court in the back of a copy house. Like this she was such a lawyer, and I thought she had gone off to fight the good fight, like at the end of this. And so if I were to put Marissa Gold anywhere in I guess in this part of the good verse, we don't have the current administration, maybe, although the arts are under attack. It's really hard I would expect Marissa to be on like the front lines of the legal battles that are happening today, like, and not have given up so much on the law. And she also, like, while she's helping Alec with this election, she doesn't seem into it at all. And it seems too easy for her. And I'm like, why would you do this? Like, it didn't make sense to me. And I feel like we lost a little bit of, I feel like this is like, I don't know if any of you watch Peacemaker, but I feel like this is the butterfly version of Marissa. Like she's just a little bit different. She's just a little bit off. And not the Marissa I remember from The Good Fight, which is okay. It's just, the first time we're seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, but I could also, I mean, we kind of get this sense that the law may have beaten Marissa down, right? Like,
Agreed.
she may have tried to fight the good fight, right?
Yep.
And we see it so much in The Good Wife that we watch, that we're talking about right now all the time, where the law sometimes doesn't work. The law sometimes lets you down.
Well, it works for the right people, or if it works for the people who wrote the laws, not for the people that didn't write the laws.
So I can see in this universe where Marissa did try her hand at being a lawyer and being a defense lawyer, but maybe she had so many cases where she felt that the law didn't work for her client when it should have, that it may have disillusioned her in the law. I mean, I get that sense where she says, the law doesn't exist anymore. So it's like,
yeah,
I get that sense from her. But to follow, we don't get that same sense of humanity from Marissa that we'd gotten in The Good Wife and Fight. We also I really didn't feel that level of like
camaraderie.
Fight. Oh, yeah, camaraderie for sure. And also that fight, that wit, that humor from Marissa. We didn't see her like a whole lot. And then we got like pop-ups from her every now and again. But it didn't feel like the trademark Marissa Gold that we and maybe listen, maybe we are putting Marissa Gold on a huge pedestal right now, and we don't know. We had such high expectations, and maybe this didn't meet those. But I did appreciate seeing her on the screen and seeing that arm into The Good Wife and Fight come in, and I also did appreciate the hinting at the relationship between Marissa and Elsbeth that we found in mostly The Good Fight. So I appreciate that level of it. I just wish you could have gotten a little more of that Marissa Gold spark that we're used to.
Yeah, and I mean there is a point. Like I have only watched The Good Fight once through. I haven't watched it in a while, so we'll see on the rewatch my pedestal for Marissa is so high. I mean, you guys got to understand. I grew up not being able to buy license plates or stickers with my names or pencils with my name on it. So when there was a character named Marissa and she ended up being that cool, like she really shot up there on the pedestal thing for me. So we'll see on the rewatch if she stays up there. But I think Jason, in this instance, you did a lot of writing for the show. I would love to hear what struggles she came up against. I would love to hear how she became disillusioned with the law and kind of understand that a little bit more. But we just got a passing comment of like, and not even the like, I'll tell you all about it later, or oh my gosh, or another hint of it when they were at the bar and talking back and forth, and like Elsbeth was telling her about the case and she could have like shared a little bit more about that. I would have appreciated to have just a little bit of an intro to the world. I guess they're assuming, I don't know if they're, but it's seeming more that they're assuming that people who are watching Elsbeth may not have watched the other shows and aren't necessarily looking as deeply as we are into these connections. But it would have been nice just to see a little bit or hear a little bit more about why. But I could totally see that happening. You're right. Like I could totally see it happening. I just want to know, what was it? Was it immigration? Was it, like what was the thing that got her to not be part of it anymore?
I think it's true that they're probably trying to ride a fine line of like, we don't want to get too bogged down into The Good Fight, The Good Wife lore, because I do think there's probably a lot of people watching this that did not watch, definitely not The Good Fight, because I think The Good Fight was on Paramount Plus. It was very different from this show. It was very like, it was an adult themed show, where this is a show for adults, but it's also on network television, which oddly enough, in our Good Wife episode this week, we talk a lot about like network television and what's proper on network and not, and what's not. And so I think they do want to like, we want to leave this for the just Elsbeth viewers, or I do think there are a lot of Elsbeth viewers that didn't see Wife and Fight, that just see kooky Elsbeth and are like, oh, I can get down with that character and don't want to get too bogged down in the lore. But
well, yeah, especially because in this interaction with Alec, okay, so there's this Alex, the candidate, which you had looked up, Jason, and you would find that he is connected to the Good Wife world.
Well,
but
the actor.
Also known for the actor, not the character.
The actor was in one episode of The Good Wife, and neither Marissa or I could place his character name.
We've already watched and covered the episode.
Yeah, we watched the episode. It was last season, toward the end of last season. So if he didn't leave a mark on us that we remember from, like, I don't know, a couple months ago at this point, then he probably wasn't that important to the story. But yeah, so he's here. He's like apparently this like really great guy.
They're trying to Mamdani him. Like, I feel like he is like, we're here to make the city affordable for everyone, which is what Mamdani's thing was. Which, first of all, yay, great. I don't even live in New York, but I'm happy for everyone. And also great timing on having this episode come out after the election that happened last week, because I'm sure they would have gotten into some trouble if they didn't. Which is, as Jason mentioned, something we talk about on The Good Wife. But I think he's trying to be positioned in this way, and there's this conversation around hot dogs. Okay, hot dogs. And there is a debate between a New York hot dog and a Chicago hot dog. But the hot dog in question in here is a baby hot dog wrapped in a croissant. It is not any, like...
It's not a street dog.
No, it's not anything like this. And Elsbeth is saying, again, this is why I think, like, what the producers are at least trying to tell us, deep divers like us. She says, I do sometimes miss a Chicago hot dog. And Alex like, well, why don't you split this one with me and see if you miss Chicago after that? And so she like takes a bite of this, again, not a street dog, just a baby hot dog wrapped in a croissant, takes a bite of it, says, and then she says, I don't miss Chicago anymore. So I feel like they're really trying to separate her from that, because if they were going that deep, they'd have to do a lot more work, and they don't have the money to do that anymore, because I don't know if you've heard, Jason, but the arts are under attack.
Yeah. And this is really set up as kind of a meet cute with Elsbeth and Alec, where it's like, oh, let's put this mini hot dog. So yeah, it's from the jump. It's like, okay, are we trying to like set something up here? And Elsbeth being Elsbeth is at first a little hesitant about it, but I think at first she's lured by Alec, and then as we get further in, she's like, I don't want to be used by like at first she's like, definitely there's vibes, and even Marissa like picks up the vibes, but then I'm like, you go from Angus to Alec, like that's pretty similar. But anyway, but she's there, and even Dr. Yablansky is like, oh, look at him. I see you looking at him, all this stuff. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I don't want it. So there's definitely like some vibes, and Marissa uses it to her advantage in the campaign, and she like sets them up on a date, which then gets to the point where Elsbeth like, I didn't want this to be that kind of thing. I want this to be like, just because they end up having like so much in common, not beyond the vibes. They know all the same things, go to the same places, do like they're quirky in the same way. They're both cringy touristy people.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So yeah, a lot happened at this benefit.
Yeah, and I love when Yablonsky says, oh, they only serve droopy salad and unseasoned chicken here, and then we get the which I think, I don't know, they're starting to overuse this bit, I think, where they go one droopy salad later and we hear Alec making his speech about how, you know, he's so passionate about the unhoused because this is a benefit for unhoused people. He says he was an unhoused person as a kid, so that's why he has such passion about it. And as Marissa, as you said, he wants to make the city affordable again. So that's kind of his shtick and his thing. And and this is interesting, like convergence of storylines, because as you mentioned, Gary pops up at this event. Yeah. And it's like, oh, like, wow, these storylines are converging here. And where Elsbeth hears about Dolores and all the things that happen here and gets her ears perked up about a case that she can solve.
I think it's, again, pretty smart from a production budget standpoint. Like, you have one location, you can bring as many characters in as you can. So I assume we're going to see a couple more of that, because we saw basically a case walk into the station. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing a lot more of cases being brought to Elsbeth as opposed to Elsbeth being brought out to the cases, which I think, and I think it's a smart production move. So way to go, Elsbeth team. I know the arts are under attack, so way to watch that bottom line.
Yes. So now we have the case. Elsbeth knows about the case. Now Elsbeth is inserting herself into the case, and she's trying to tell Wagner about the case. I love this. I love
It is
love it.
Wendell appears at like not his finest because he's a very, very good actor, but at his pretty much close to network TV finest.
Yeah, annoyed Wagner is a fun Wagner because Wagner is busy watching Rivers and his daughter flirt in the precinct, kind of like bullpen, and Elsbeth is being her like mosquito fly self, is kind of going all around and buzzing around Wagner, telling him all about this case that she wants to take. Wagner's not listening at all. He's so involved in Rivers and his daughter. Because I mean, if you remember from last episode, at the end of last episode, Rivers and what's her name, Julia?
Yeah,
and they've started dating, and Wagner's not having it. And so because Wagner wants to just break up the sight of his daughter and Rivers, he gets Rivers on the case with Elsbeth. He's like, Elsbeth, I don't even know what you were just talking about right now, but go ahead and take the case, take Rivers with you. And it was, I don't know, how did you feel about this?
well, they are definitely a thing. They are definitely an item. But what I enjoyed most out of this, is Rivers knows he cannot be his old self in the situation anymore, because he will come in and he's like, oh, why do I have to go in this case? And then he's like, but I love learning from Elsbeth and the women around me. You know what I mean? Like, he's very like really emphasizing this. And Julia has had this conversation with him and like is kind of coaching him in this way and all of that stuff, based on especially what happens at the end of the episode, because he says, nice things and he gets a little pat on the butt.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I enjoyed most out of this.
And it's also alluded to that Rivers has done some extensive HR training about how to act in the workplace, especially around women. Because if you remember Rivers' first appearance last season, it did not go good at all.
We did not like him at all.
Did not. So they're really trying to rehabilitate Rivers' image here by making sure that he is making sure to respect all women and all women's opinions and all these things. So good on him.
You know what I learned, which is, again, I don't want to make it all about me, but the actor's last name is De La Garza.
Oh, and there you go.
So he is of the Garzas, and Garzas are like Hurons. Yeah, the birds, the birds that hang by the lake. Yeah, that's what I'm named after. I'm named after a bird or a stork, and he is of the storks, but I am the stork.
I am the stork. I'm not of the storks. I am the stork.
Yep, the stork.
Yeah, so that's how Rivers kind of gets on it, because Wagner just wants him away from his daughter. So he's like, go play with Elsbeth and be away from my daughter for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in the case of this, he does do some actual reconnaissance work. We don't see the scenes that play out, but he brings some work in. Not like a lot, but he does say like, hey, here are some photos from other explosions that happened, and this is what happens to the clothing here. He contributes to the case in a way, and also lets Elsbeth do her thing. Like, really gets out of her way, really allows her to like go and have all these questioning times with Gary, because we see her go and like talk to the staff, who apparently is made from money from her family, but still works at the paper for the art of it all, and checks in on him when they get the new like furniture and everything. So she's able to do all of this, and he's the one holding the camera while she is getting this confession at the end of the episode. So he has kind of learned to kind of take a little bit of a back seat somewhere back there. He has been able to do that, and I think it's also, yes, extensive HR training, but when you have someone like Julia as well, he's not worried about his ego anymore because he's got Julia as well.
Yeah, true. And I think it's also a note that the Elsbeth writers have taken as well. Like, we don't need a lot of baggage with Elsbeth. Elsbeth can carry this on her own. So I think they have worked to make sure that the detectives are not as prevalent in the story. Like, they're not all over Elsbeth. They're not all in Elsbeth's grill. They don't have to have this back and forth of the detective having a theory and then Elsbeth having to prove the detective wrong. I think now they're just like, we just want Elsbeth out in her natural habitat doing her natural thing. that's fine on its own. We don't
Yeah.
need a opposition force to Elsbeth. Just let Elsbeth do her thing, and that's enough for the show. So I think they've really taken that note, because we had Rivers here that's doing his thing in the background, kind of. He is there at pivotal moments, but mostly it's Elsbeth, and which I think is the strength of this conceit, is Elsbeth and whatever guest, actor, murderer you have going toe to toe, facing off. That's what the show is built around, and I think that's where that's where they let the show shine. It's like we don't need a third character messing with that flow and that like chemistry.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning we needed to, of course, set the scene. And again, this project was written with a budget they thought they were going to have. Like they've had to make a lot of adjustments, because even we talked about in previous seasons, they had like, they designed a season for 12 seasons, but then had to like expand, or 12 episodes and then had to expand it. Like they've had so much thrown at them that they, I think, are learning to keep things simple. So that way you can add things in as opposed to having to delete them as they've had to do in this season specifically. And I think it's working. I think we know enough about Elsbeth and why she's in New York. We also, again, like I said, this episode was the clearest example of what a consent decree is and why, like, somebody or why the police department might need them in a way that isn't getting us to think, well, what about the police corruption? Which again would be great to see and have like addressed, but we don't need it to necessarily have like a great show.
This isn't really that show, right? Like,
right.
We can have call outs to it every now and then, but this isn't the good fight. Where if this was a good fight, that would be the main topic of the story. But it feels like this is a lighter tone show. This is a very like easy breezy. I mean, this is a show about murder, but it's an easy breezy show about murder. So that's not really where we're at. They kudos to the writers for giving winks and nods to it in this vehicle that is supposed to be digestible for everyone. They do their work to like, hey, we're also saying this about this, but we're not putting it in your face as opposed to a good fight. But in this, so we get the first meeting, the first face off between Elsbeth and Gary, where Gary he's in his mourning stage, right? He's just like, oh, Dolores, I'm gonna miss her so much. Her poetry was so great. Meanwhile, he's already spending the money he doesn't have yet by getting expensive furniture in his office, giving Hannah, his assistant, a raise. So he's already spending the money he hasn't got yet, that he thinks is on the way. And Elsbeth kind of is pretty early giving him the like, I'm kind of onto you, where she kind of tells him like, so you knew about her cigarette issue. You knew she smoked cigarettes while she did her poetry. You were at her apartment a lot, as you say. You were closest to Dolores. So, and I think Gary's like, oh, like crap, I've said too much. And he tries to also, it's like, oh, well, Fred also wanted her money. And Fred was also kind of like this guy, but me and Fred are cool, which is a second big mistake. Saying that he and Fred were just like good competitors when we know he and Fred hate each other's guts, which Fred will tell Elsbeth about when he gets questioned.
Yeah, I mean, that does open up some things for them. And I think it's like their competition. So of course they're going to play nice in front of the audience, but not necessarily behind the scenes.
And I did enjoy when Gary tried to show how great of a poet Dolores was and read her poetry out loud.
No, that's because Elsbeth made him.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant move because she knew it was crap, and it was like, oh well, if you have like such a reverence for the art and like really support her, why don't you just read this poem that was about, well, and I got to tell you, this lady was writing about her womb, like being in her mom's womb.
Yeah, and wolf
many
blood,
times, multiple times.
Wolves bleeding on the moon.
Something
which like,
I have to say, not all poets, poets write what you want to write, and some, obviously are going to do this, but not every poet is like that. Like, I don't believe the stereotype. Poetry's cool. Go read some poetry.
But it did feel like, these people that are in this part of society where they're like, oh, you just don't get it. Where because that's because when Elvis is like, when he reads the poem and Elvis is like, I don't, what is he talking about? I don't get that. He's like, oh, well, it's about the catharsis of the work. And if you don't get that, then that's on you. It's like, I feel like I've gotten that before. Like, I don't know what this thing is trying to say. Like, oh, you don't get it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I went to an art museum yesterday and I was like, some of them I was like, I get it. Others I was like, huh?
And so you said
What?
that to someone,
It's
they'd be like,
like,
"Huh, Philistine, you don't
yeah,
understand,
well, like I don't know.
boss."
Yeah, there was a while ago, a couple of years ago, maybe a decade ago. I don't remember. But do you remember when like there was a banana?
Oh
And
yeah,
it was like the banana, and it was like was going to be sold for thousands of dollars or whatever, and it's just like it's a banana, but it's also like a banana that was like spaced in a certain way and like lit a certain way and like all of that. Like that's the argument from from the thing, and it also makes a statement about art by the fact that it was going to be sold for thousands of dollars and it's literally just a banana. There was also like a shop vac that was
yeah,
like sold and stuff like that. So I think it has always been part of the art conversation because it is subjective. Like the art that
yeah.
you like is going to be different than I like. The shows that you like are different than the shows that I like all the time. So
And one of my favorite, like, it's not like a fairy tale or fables. Like the emperor has no clothes, right?
yeah,
Where the emperor is like he's naked, but he says he has clothes on. Everybody's like, oh, like because he's the emperor, we have to say that he has like to find his clothes on when he has actually no clothes on, which I think is part of that like that parallel where we're supposed to like this, like we're told we're supposed to like this, so we're going to say we like it even though we don't understand it at all. So I think that's part of where this comes from.
yeah, yeah. Um, before because I just want to make sure we also talk a little bit about Alec. Is there anything else on the murder and everything that you want to get to before we talk about because your sign back there, Jason, is making a claim, and I want to make sure we get to
Listen,
that claim.
I just think I think they did so much to hit us over the head with, oh, Alec's such a good guy. Alec is this, Alec is that. He's doing all this stuff. I'm like, Alec's a bad guy though, right? Like Alec is not all he's cracked up to be because he can't be like this pure and sweet. And especially in the fact that at the end of this episode, Marissa, because like Elsbeth does not want to be used by Alec's campaign because there are papers written about who is this mysterious redhead with Alec, and she
Yeah.
asked Marissa to have like to make a statement saying that Elsbeth is not Alex's girlfriend or they're not dating or whatever. And Marissa at first is like, nah, son, like she she is the daughter of Eli Gold. Eli in that moment she's like, no, I'm not doing that. Which again, a faux pas not to even mention Eli Gold in
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
breaths. Like,
Agreed. Agreed.
come on. But she at first is like, no, I'm not doing that. Like it'll work for us if people think that he's out with some mysterious lady. That's we're gonna use that to our advantage. And Elsbeth's kind of like, bruh, like that is not the Marissa Gold that I remember and
I
I
thought
know.
we were friends. Why can't
Yeah.
we do this? And that, like, again, it was delivered in such a way, but I don't know. Then Marissa's just like, "You're right. I don't want to be that person," and I'm like, "Was that enough to get you to switch?" Like, I don't know. And then I also like didn't know if she had an ulterior motive at that point and was just saying that to to appease Elsbeth in the moment. And later she does come to Elsbeth with this like everything is on your shoulders type of thing. Like we need, and I don't know if that's because she did research. Like the
I
Marissa that I know would have been like, "Oh, I've done some research on Alec. Let me help you expose him."
yeah, yeah. So
And
yeah, because like you said, Elsbeth and Marissa meet back up and Elsbeth's like, I thought you were gonna like print a statement. And Marissa's like, actually, no, I can't do that because I need your help because the fate of New York City is in your hands. So yeah, I'm thinking like you that maybe Marissa's not working for this guy. She's trying to expose this guy, and that would be more in line with who Marissa is, the Marissa character. So we'll see.
well, yeah, especially because she does make a comment in this episode because Elspeth's like, I wish I could just prove things like that when when a constituent comes up to Alec and is like, I like you, but I'm not gonna vote for you because blah 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 blah. And Marissa has like this, she has proof of blah blah and blah on her phone,
Yeah.
and and she says, take it from me, make a record of everything or document everything. And so, and
Yeah.
it's really interesting to me that she even had, because one of the things also that Elsbeth talked about was like, she loves The Lion King. And Alec's like, I love The Lion King. I've seen it 4 times. And Marissa, for some reason, on her phone has 4 pictures of Alec in front of the Lion King marquee. And if we know anything about Marissa, and maybe this is just a way to introduce Marissa to the new audience, but the Marissa that we know started out, well, first as a receptionist, first as a teenager, and then a receptionist, but then an investigator. And
Yeah.
so she has the skills. Like she she's like Kalinda 2.0, you know?
Yep.
Like she has, for those who watch The Good Wife, at least that's a frame of reference there. But I think there is more to this, and I don't know. I hope Marissa's like, I couldn't tell you at the beginning, but really I'm working. You know what I mean? Like undercover, or maybe she's like teamed up. What if she's teamed up with Kaya and she works for the FBI? Like I don't know. I don't know.
Wow.
Something like that. Like yes,
Yeah.
I know. I wrote the show there, but I
Yep.
just think there's definitely more to it, and I found it weird that she just had all of those pictures on her
Yeah.
phone.
There's something afoot here. There's something afoot. Or maybe she, took a picture and now is looking at the pictures and realized that something is not right about one of the pictures that makes Alec a not good guy. So maybe she needs Elsbeth's help with that. So we kind of were left on a cliffhanger there to figure out what's going on with Marissa and Alec and what that's all about.
Quick question.
Mm.
What do you think it is? If she did find something in the photos, do you think, I know it could be like anything,
Yeah.
but like, do you think it's connected to something we've already seen? Or do you think it's like something new? Because I think, what if it has to, finally you get your Wagner's wife thing in there?
Yeah, I'm almost giving up the ghost on that. But I do think it might possibly be centered around him lying about his past, because we heard so much about his past as an unhoused kid. He grew up with nothing and blah, blah, blah. I do wonder if it has to do with like he's lying about his background. Maybe he's using the story to try and relate to New York citizens, New York voters, or maybe he's like really a rich trust fund kid or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a feeling it might be that, and connected to a character we already know. So I wonder if it has to go back to anything with, I can only think of the judge that's her husband in real life. What was his name? But you know,
yeah,
the guy who died on the stairs of the courthouse because he got shot. That guy. And he was also in Lost and is actually married to Kim Preston. Yes, Crawford. Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Like, I wonder if it has to do with that stuff or any of the Kaya stuff. Like, I don't know. But I have a feeling it's something about his character and also something that's tied into Elsbeth's world. Because what if Marissa's been like, if she is an investigator, what if she's been watching Elsbeth for all this time too?
What if she's undercover, right?
Yeah, like I don't know.
What if she's working for that Celentano guy that sent Elsbeth?
No.
Who knows? Who knows? So I do think we're now building it up to more than it probably is.
Yes, which is what we do all the time, but it's fine.
Yes, it's fine. So yeah, that's kind of the Marissa Alex story. Let's wrap up the case of the week and how this was found out.
Oh, the confession? How? Okay. So after like finding out that he was only left the work of Dolores, and yes, usher it up.
Because he's spending the money. He's like, we're set for life. And Els was like, well, I'll see you at the reading of the will.
Because apparently you can go to those. They're public. I don't know, but the lawyer / accountant / whatever she was in Dolores's life does let them know at this point, like she has bequeathed her work of poetry to you, Pigeon Press, and $416. And they're like, that's it. That's it. She's like, yeah, that's it. Isn't that funny? That's all she had. That's all she had left. She paid $250 a month for rent because she was in a rent controlled apartment. And you guys paid for all of her meals all the time. Isn't that hilarious? It's hilarious. Mm-hmm. So then Gary goes to go pick up the poetry from the apartment building, and the doorman is like, oh, they must be treating this as a homicide now. Interesting. And Gary's like, where'd you hear that? Like, what's going on? And the doorman says, well, the redhead lady was here, and she basically talked about how they are looking for evidence on clothes because oxygen burns can fade or discolor clothing. And this gets Gary to run out the door, run to the dry cleaners. The dry cleaner cannot find his suit jacket anywhere to be found because Elsbeth has already confiscated it and is hiding behind all of the dry cleaning and pops out. She's like,
I legit thought that the lady was going to like click the button and the jackets would wear, and like Elsbeth is like hanging on one of the rails, and just like starts. She's like hanging off the rails. She comes around the little carousel. Oh, that was gonna be it, but she does pop out from behind. So I was like, okay, that's second best to what I thought it was gonna happen.
Yeah, she does. And Rivers is there, like recording the whole thing, documenting everything, making sure. And Elspeth does a really good job of basically saying, we got a warrant. She does lie. She's lying in this
Mhm.
instance. She says that we got a warrant for your coat because we wanted to see if it was discolored in any way because that's what can happen. We know you were in the apartment before there was before the explosion, so we're just checking everything out. And then Gary's basically like, "Yep, I did it. Do you know how annoying my life is? Like, blah 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 blah." Oh, and there's Rivers with his phone, like recording everything. And so Elspeth is like, basically, I didn't have enough to like convict you of anything, but you confessed on camera, so
Bruh. So when she goes, oh, the sleeves of your jacket were faded, so that's our proof. I was like, oh, here we go. More circumstantial evidence that won't actually convict anyone in a court of law. And then when we find out that Ellsworth was lying to him, like, don't forget, guys, cops lie. Okay,
yeah.
they are allowed to lie to you.
Well,
Don't
and
forget
she did
that.
that as a defense attorney, so
Yeah, for sure. And
like she
so
has the skills.
so she presented him this fake evidence that says you're the one that did it. He gets pissed that he got caught and admits to everything on camera. Rivers is taping, and so like, hey, cool, you just confessed, and we're good to
We're
go.
done.
Yeah, we're done. I was like, okay, like that's at least like uncontributable evidence that this man did the crime. If we present this in a court of law, he's
He's
going
gonna
to
do
jail.
the time.
It's
He's
done.
gonna
It's
do the
done.
time.
It's
Yeah.
done. I did enjoy like a little bit before that when Elsbeth is still kind of like doing her thing, picking at him. She wants to read him a poem that she
Oh yeah.
wrote, and she dangles out there that she's willing to donate some money if he prints her stuff. She gives him the poem, which is terrible. I forgot even what it was. She just kept saying, what did she keep saying?
Something about
Father over and over
suits.
again. No, it was
Oh
like
no.
father,
Yeah,
father,
father.
father, father, and sumac, mouse, and something just ridiculous dribble nonsense. And Gary like explodes. He's like, "How dare you dangle your support? I have standards to uphold. Like, how dare you like think I would take something for money just because you wrote something you're giving your support?" Elsa goes, "Oh, that's funny, because that's actually a poem from Dolores that you printed in
Mm-hmm.
your paper before." It's like that's just more of like a oh, it's more of unmasking this guy who says he's something but actually is all about like money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she knew what buttons to push and what to say to kind of make that happen, and dangling money in front of someone who just isn't
Yeah,
going to make the money he thought he was going to make is an easy way to do that. But overall, what'd you think?
that was a solid episode, I'd say. I think it fits the vibe of all the other episodes from this season. Uh, Interesting murder. Good way that Ellsworth solved the case, and I think I'm kind of new to the what do they call these howdunnits or
Who done it?
well, not whodunits because we know who done it. It's the
Oh, the
how
why
catch 'em.
done it?
No, the how
How?
catch 'em. How catch 'em, is that what it is?
I don't know. I think you're just making
It's
stuff up.
it's
I
a
will play
genre.
along
It's
though.
the genre of like Columbo of like
Ah,
we know who did it. Like we know the crime. It's all about how the detective figures out how they did it. So I think I'm new to this genre, so I'm still trying to like, yeah, we're 3 seasons in, but I'm still trying to like
well, they
get
switched
with
up the
it.
genre a couple times.
Yeah, I'm still trying to like get with it. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's just I there's no real intrigue because we already know that. I mean, this is Elsbeth. She's going to catch the person at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about how Elsbeth figures it out, which is
Correct.
like not entirely captivating all the time, but the character of Elsbeth is what really drives the show for me. So that's in place.
Yeah, and I think that they're moving her more and more to the center as they've kind of cleared out some of the stuff that they had set up in seasons 1 and 2.
Mhm.
So, in order to kind of, I mean, again, just being real, stay on the air,
Mm.
I think they're doing a great, they're having a great response, and I think like if we look at this episode in a vacuum, it's a very entertaining episode of television. It deals with a lot of stuff. They put in the arts are under attack like 15 times to like really drive it home. So they're still having some fun. We get to see some characters that we've known before if you're part of, the good verse. So I'm interested to see. I mean, this is only episode 5, and I think we're getting 20 whole episodes. So we're only a fourth into the season. So let's see how it goes, and how they weave in. I know the Kaya storyline can't be gone because we can't just like leave it that way.
Right.
But and we know Marissa's going to be back next episode because, or at least in a couple of some time, because she's needing Elsbeth's help in some way. So I think they're doing a good job kind of reestablishing their foundation and going from there. I was like, all right, this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, for sure. Marissa, do you want to fill the good folks on where they can find you and what you're up to nowadays?
Nowadays, what a day!
These are some days. Let me tell
you. Oh boy. How we made it to November, I have no idea, but I sure am glad we did. You can find me at itsmemarissag.com, where you'll find links to all of the podcasts I am on, including this one, The Good Pod, where I talk about Elsbeth and Good Wife with Jason Reed. You can find links to both our audio and our video podcast, which is the same podcast, but just on YouTube. I know it makes it sound like super fancy, but you can find links at itsmemarissag.com. You can also find links to my other podcast that I'm on, which is Previous Little Liars, over on the Whirlwind podcast, where we're watching Pretty Little Liars one previously on at a time. And then I'm watching Star Trek The Next Generation with my sister on our podcast, The USS Sisterhood. Jason, what's changing? What's going on in your world?
Me and Asia Welch are talking about the show Made at First Sight over in our podcast, A Perfect Match. You can find that over on the Love at First Sight feed. So if you type in Love at First Sight, you'll find the feed where Made at First Sight is, where our Talk About Love is Blind is. So you'll find all those podcasts in that same feed. You can also find us on Patreon, Talk Made at First Sight, over on the Our Perfect Match Patreon, where we are talking to past match participants about how they feel about this season, how it compares to the seasons they were on. So if that floats your boat, come on over. You can also find me talking about 90 Day Fiance the other way this week. I was a guest on the We Know 90 Day podcast hosted by Kuya. So if that's a show you're into, come on over and check that out. And that's where I am this week and for the foreseeable future over on the Perfect Match podcast. So check all that stuff out. And until next time, stay good.